So you picked up a DUI. What are the next 30 days going to look like step by step in Johnson County? So first, you pick up a DUI, or what we call in Indiana an OVWI, an operating a vehicle while intoxicated. What do you need to understand? You're probably going to be taken to jail. 99% of people, they're taken to jail. Do you get a bond? Are you released? When will you be released? What are your upcoming court dates going to be like? When you get out of jail, what's it look like? What do you need to do in that next 30 days to set you up for success? So the first thing you have to understand, when you pick up a driving offense, specifically an OVWI, your license will be suspended. There is not anything that any attorney in this state can file where your license is just not going to be suspended at all. Now, there can be different kinds of suspensions. There can be a refusal suspension and there can be a general suspension. But one of the two is generally going to be entered at your initial hearing by the judge in Johnson County. Your license will be suspended. So it's important to have an attorney that understands, what do we need to do? Well, we need to file that 10-day stay. And then we need to talk to you. Is this a refusal suspension? Okay, we need to talk about what ignition interlock looks like. Can we get you ignition interlock in lieu of an administrative suspension or in lieu of a refusal suspension? What does it look like? What do you need to do? Additionally, let's say this isn't a refusal suspension. Let's say it's a general suspension, which is probably more common. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to get information from you because we're going to try to get you specialized driving privileges. And those specialized driving privileges can include going to work, going to school, picking up your kids, the doctor, maybe sporting events, our office, the court, maybe therapy. It can include a lot of things. But we need to have that discussion with you. We need to understand where you're at as far as your driving history, and you need to understand what specialized driving privileges are going to look like, and also what kind of monitoring. It can be common that with a DUI, you get put on what we call backtrack, which backtrack could be all throughout the day. You have to blow into a monitor to make sure you're not drinking. Almost always, you're going to get what we call ignition interlock if you need to drive, which is something that goes on your steering wheel and you have to blow into it in order to drive the car. So these are different things that you have to think about. So the next step with a DUI is reviewing what happened. It's so common that we have people and they call and they're just like, look, there was no reason for them to pull me over. I wasn't swerving. I wasn't doing this or that. I didn't make a lane change. You might not have, but maybe you did and you don't remember. Or maybe the reason that the officer gave you for pulling you over, he had other reasons, right? So we need to look at what was the basis for the stop. We need to look at the standardized field sobriety test, because generally what we're going to have is an officer's going to pull you over, maybe pulled you over for speeding, lane change, you accidentally went onto the curb, whatever it may be. He pulls you over. And almost always, OVWI affidavit, he's going to say he smelled alcohol. It's almost impossible to fight. He might have other reasons though. He might say, look, his eyes were bloodshot and watery. I talked to him a little bit. His speech was slurred. His fine motor skills seemed slow. You have all these different reasons an officer can say, yeah, I was a little concerned about this guy, so I asked him to step out, and I gave him the standardized field sobriety test. Did he do those right? We've got the walk and turn, we've got the one leg stand, we've got the HGN test, all of which have specific criteria and specific ways that they have to be done. If an officer doesn't do that HGN test correctly, and we've all kind of seen it, they hold up the pen, they're going like this, but guess what? If they hold up the pen and they're going like this, that's a bad HGN test. There's very specific ways they have to do it. They have to hold it for so long here. They have to go to this angle here. So did they do that correctly? That needs to be reviewed. The breath and the blood needs to be reviewed. Is this a certified breath test? Did they get blood work done? Was the blood work done correctly? How long between getting pulled over and the blood work was it? Right? Did the officers have you sit at the side of the road for 4 hours before they gave you blood? Did the officers do it within 30 minutes? These are all questions. The device they use, let's say for the certified breath test, when's the last time it was calibrated? How do we know it was accurate? And these are all things that we can get through reports. We might have to request things. These are also things that we might be able to see on body-worn camera, especially with those standardized field sobriety tests. How were they done? Were they done properly? And then with a DUI, mitigation can be really important, because are you a first-time offender? Is this the first time you've ever gotten a DUI? Is this the 6th time you've gotten a DUI? The 7th time you've gotten a DUI? Did you immediately put yourself in treatment? Maybe you recognize, hey, I've got a drinking problem. I drink all the time. I really need to stop. You immediately get yourself into treatment. Maybe you don't want to do treatment. Maybe you don't feel like you have an issue. There can be different things that we might suggest to you to help mitigate, because maybe we look at that body cam, we look at the OVWI, we look at everything. We're like, look, the officer pulled you over because you were speeding. You were. The officer smelled alcohol. They said they got you out of the vehicle. They gave you the standardized field sobriety test. And guess what? I watched the video. You failed all 3. You looked intoxicated. The officer then asked you if you understood the Indiana implied consent and if you would consent to having your blood drawn. And you said no. You refused it. So now it's a refusal suspension. The officer went and got the blood work. And guess what? That blood work looks absolutely good. It looks like they did everything by the book. There's not much that we can fight here at trial. What can we do to put you in the best possible outcome if you need to take a plea? Whether that is get you in treatment treatment, what we call AET, whether that is have you do AAID, the decision panel, whether that is, hey, you need to start going to AA meetings. Hey, you need to do this. Hey, you need to just do backtrack yourself. I'm going to ask the court to put you on backtrack so you can show the court that you're not drinking. There can be a lot of things that we can do to potentially mitigate the end outcome. And then specifically, it can be important to have an attorney that's familiar with Johnson County because different judges are stricter than others. Different judges might require more. Different judges allow for more things. And what we see is there's kind of 3 criminal courts in Johnson County. Say this is your 3rd OVWI and you have 10 statutory days in jail. Says by statute, 3rd DUI, you will do 10 days in jail. That's the statute. Let's say you have 10 more days in jail. Depending on what judge you go in front of, one judge might say, the day you take the plea, you're going to jail and you'll be out 9 days later. Because let's say you were arrested that night and released the next day. Whereas other judges might say, hey, look, I understand. Maybe you work a full-time job, you support your family, you work Monday through Friday. Okay, then for 5 straight weeks, you're going to report to jail at Friday at 6 p.m. You're going to get out Sunday. That's how you're going to do it. So understanding the local culture in Johnson County, what might be allowed, what might not be allowed. Is there something that judges expect to see that maybe other county judges might not? So that's why it can be important to have an attorney that understands DUI defense in Johnson County. So if you picked up an OVWI, whether it's endangerment, whether it's your BAC level, whatever it is, in Johnson County, and you need an attorney, call the Marc Lopez Law Firm at 317-632-3642. And remember, always plead the fifth.